what you find.
So it's generally agreed by most people that video game adaptations of movies and TV shows are kind of stinky. A lot of people put this down to the lack of interactability, or the fact that games these days tend to be between 10 and 1 billion squillion hours long. And to be honest, I think both of these are kind of shitty excuses. I think that the reasons that these projects miss the mark so often is always different, but that doesn't mean a genuinely good adaptation is impossible.
Ryan the Lion says, chew on that, you parasite.
After all, like any piece of media, it doesn't have to be a direct adaptation of the game to be decent. The poster child and example always used when saying that these projects won't work is Bioshock. You know, the one where you tour an underwater city rescuing or murdering ghost girls and fighting their dads before fighting your dad. Spoilers.
I am Andrew Ryan, and I'm here to ask you a question. Is a man not entitled to the sweat of his brow? No, says the man in Washington, it belongs to the poor. No, says the man in the Vatican, it belongs to God. No, says the man in Moscow, it belongs to everyone. I rejected those answers. Instead, I chose something different. I chose the impossible. I chose Rapture. Where the artist would not fear the censor, where the scientist would not be bound by petty morality, where the great would not be constrained by the small.
If you played Bioshock, then you can probably tell why this would suck as a movie. Your character is mute, most of the gameplay is shooting junkies. How would that translate? Most importantly, the big twist at the end doesn't work. Spoiler warning for those of you who don't know, but throughout the game, a character is guiding you with objectives, go here, kill this person. At the end of this, it's revealed that a character has been using a trigger phrase to control your actions, claiming that you didn't have a choice throughout.
Would you kindly find that? Would you kindly find that? Would you kindly find? Would you kindly get this? Would you kindly head to Ryan's office and kill the son of a bitch?
And as you were responsible for the character's actions, you kind of did and didn't at the same time. It's a really interesting statement about control and free will, but doesn't work in a movie because you, the audience, don't have the same agency in the plot. You lose the key themes of control and the illusion of free will. So yeah, remaking Bioshock for cinephiles isn't a good idea. But just how games such as Shadow of Mordor, or brackets, insert other example here, brackets, the potential universe that 2K have created is a goldmine for a decent movie. Or show, my pitch is for a TV show.
Throw objects at foes. You can even catch grenades and throw them back.
I think it would be pretty nifty to see a show dedicated to the peak of the underwater city of Rapture that the game is set in. Imagine an Art Deco 1950s detective show set at the bottom of the ocean. Now imagine that the residents of this city have superpowers, like creating fire or throwing bees. Also, there are giant nightmare fish tank monsters lurking around the city, sort of fixing it. Both Rapture games take place after the shit's already hit the fan, so setting this up as a prequel would be fresh and interesting for both long-time fans and people who have never heard of the series. Despite all of this good stuff, what makes Rapture so interesting is that it's founded and run on the values of total free will, which is something that the game shows us with characters like Andrew Ryan, Frank Fontaine, other characters who I've forgotten the names of.
No! Stay away from her, or it is you who will be shot next!
Easy now, Doctor. He's just looking for a wee bit of Adam. Just enough to get by.
I'll not have him hurt my little ones!
It's okay, lad. That's not a child. Not anymore, I think. Dr. Tenenbaum saw to that.
Bitte do not hurt her! Have you no
Show us other examples of how characters react to the narcissistic utopia that 2K created. Over the course of the show, we would get to see an overarching story of the city's fall. The unmanageable decay of the buildings, like with the pipes bursting, the gang violence that eventually leads to an underwater civil war, the first splicers, those are the junkies, and the survival of the Little Sisters and all the crazy people doing what they like unchecked.
Fitzpatrick!
Please! The stick!
Save her for God's sake! My muse shall not be mocked!
Right, so halfway through writing this, I realised that the story of Rapture is already a thing, but as a book, I've not read it yet, but after a quick look at the wiki, it essentially covers what I'm talking about. So if you both like this pitch and know how to read, then you should go and check that out. But the fun doesn't stop there. So maybe you're worried that making it a stupid prequel is no good because people already know how the city ends up, but maybe it doesn't have to end up like that. Another string to Bioshock's crossbow is that it follows the many worlds theory, or the multiverse theory, the Rick and Morty theory. This was a big deal in Bioshock Infinite, but I see no reason why it can't come up at some point in this show. Maybe we can see different versions of Lizzie, or the Lutesses.
I've come round to your way of thinking.
Have you?
Yes. I do believe one can change things, but after all the bother, one often wishes that one had not.
And this would open up the door to see many different versions of Rapture where things didn't end up so shit. Or maybe it ended up even more shit. After all, Bioshock 1 has a good ending and a bad ending, so why not show both if we're going to go down this path? Okay, spin-off time. So if the show is a 10 out of 10 success, there's potential to see a show centered around Columbia. No, not that one. The Sky City from Infinite.
15,000 feet. Hallelujah.
And why stop there? Why not show us new interesting cities founded on their own unique ideals? I'm too tired to think of any examples, but maybe you can throw some in the comments. To me, Rapture would be a no-brainer for a solid show full of interesting and dynamic characters and beautiful locations. But what do you guys think? Be real, this would make a great show. So let me know what you think of Rapture the show in the comments, and tell me if you want to do any other games into shows, or vice versa. I've got a few more of these coming up, the next big one being If Saw Were a Game. For the second time, well, third time, you know what I mean. Be sure to leave a like and hit the subscribe button, and I'll see you soon.